Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I am taking a look at XLM, and if I have time, I'll take a look at Theta. It's been a while, so thought I'd touch on it. And basically, when I do an XRP video, it's the same thing. You know, they're brother and sister. They move the same. The chart's almost identical. If I put up the chart here, let's see, new price scale. There you go. So you can see here's XLM on the top, and on the bottom is XRP. So, I mean, if you look, they're pretty close. So, whatever XRP is going to do, XLM is most likely going to do. The difference is probably percentage terms, but, people asked about it, and I'll go ahead and take a look at it. So, right off the bat, it looks like it's still in accumulation, right? So you could see when you're down here in accumulation, you get these big pumps, right? When you're down here in accumulation, you get these big pumps. So we're down in accumulation. We're essentially just waiting, right, for another big pump. Now, I think this pump has the potential to get us breaking this high and this high. And that is a beautiful sort of W structure. W patterns are very bullish, right? You can see it with Bitcoin here. We had a W, right? Boom. So here's your W, right? And then look what happened. Boom. And we went really high. So you had that high here. Then you had that lower high in the shape of a W. You broke out and you went very, parabolic, you should say. So let's do an interesting work here. For example, if I pull a Fibonacci, I was going to say an interesting test. So let's do a test here. So if I pull a Fibonacci from here, from the bottom here, all the way to the top of here, and then I'm going to pull it all the way down here. And we're going to figure out where it went. So look at that. It blew right past the 4.236. So what we have to do is we're going to change this to log scale. So I scroll down here, change it to log scale. So again, I pulled it from the bottom here to the top to the bottom, and it gave us a target on log scale to the 18886. A lot of people don't have that Fibonacci. I don't know why. I like it. 1.886 is a good Fibonacci to have. Also, the 702, of course, right? Those are usually not in people's fib levels, but I find it's helpful. So there you go. So it hit the 1.886, and basically, just to say it again, right? So you had a high, a lower high, right, in the shape of a W. So this is the W here. Well, I should do it like this. Boom, 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 and then all the way up there. So that's sort of like a W pattern, right? Or what you used to hear me say is this is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off, right? It's in the shape of a W. So now we have that figured out. So now let's go back to XLM. So here we go. Here's XLM. Now, doesn't it look pretty similar, right? So you had a high, you had a lower high in the shape of a potential W. I say potential because it hasn't happened yet, but basically you have that first curve of the W. Then it looks like it's wanting to do that, right? Just like how Bitcoin did it. And also there's other examples too, but they come up here, right? So now what we can do is we can measure it. So remember, Bitcoin hit the 1.886. So let's see where that takes us for a potential target. Now I can start down here at the wick, right? But let's try to be conservative with it. It's better to have our expectations, be met than nowhere near it, right? Because, you sort of want to have your expectations exceeded, right? So I'm going to put it at the base here. And it's okay, you could do that as long as it's not going through the body. So here's the wick, here's the base, so right about there. And I'm going to pull it up just like we had before, right about there. I'm going to pull it down. Considering this is a low, this might not be the low. I'm pretty sure it is the low, but it might not be. And that would be the ultimate bearish count, but we're not going to entertain that because there's no reason to, because everything's following exactly to plan. So the 1886, dear goodness, $24. Wow. So there you go, $24 XLM. I mean, I don't know, No, you got to understand, you have different supply, you have different tokenomics, right? You have different things like that. So obviously XLM has a bigger supply, but it's also reflected in its 11 cents, and it's reflected in it what it is now, right? So just for fun, let's try that with XRP. Just for fun. Let's just see where that 886 is. Just for fun. Let's see. Wow. That's about $39-40. So right about there. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, I'd be, like I said, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than, you know, not having my expectation. Now, I'm not expecting that. See, that's the thing. It's all about your psychology. If you're expecting a $40 XRP, it's not really healthy because it's a long shot, right? I mean, it's possible, and I think eventually at some point it will be, but you got to have your timeline in check too. So, you know, it's better to have a conservative target and then have that be, extended, right? So, like for example, I would like to target this $8 area. I think that's a good fair target, and it's pretty good, right? So, and that's the 1.272. But then if we exceed that and hit 19, right? That would be a pleasant surprise, would it not? Now, granted, this is on log scale, so if I change this down to linear, it's not going to be anywhere near that. So the 1886 comes in at $3.63, and I think that's ridiculous. That's way too small. The reason why is because it barely breaks the all-time high. Here's the all-time high, about $3.30. So it doesn't make sense to use that metric, right? So I would say the 4.236, right, would be more in the realm of possibility, right? Or I should say reality. $7.77 for XRP using this. Now remember, we did the same thing for Bitcoin, right? And then if you look at XRP, it's got that same look. You have this down move, this up move, high, lower high in the shape of a W, right? So it's just a different way to look at it. So if we come up here, we can get up here somewhere up in there, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can measure it. Linear scale Fibonacci, and then you have the different levels. And then you have log scale Fibonacci, and then you have the different levels. And then you also have patterns too, right? The measured moves. So if you look at this, right, as a potential, let's go to the monthly chart. If you look at this, and I take it right at the body of this candle, right? If you look at this as sort of a cup and then a handle, that's also very bullish, right? So I know this is supposed to be an XLM video, right? But I'm on XRP. But it's the same thing. It's the same chart. So if I come up here, what is that going to be? That's going to be right about $23. Now, do I think it's going to hit $23? That's a big target there, because you got to also consider the market cap, right? The market cap, that's about almost a 4,000% move. So, but then let's look at, Dogecoin, right? If you look at Dogecoin, it too only had one bull run, right? So going back to XRP real quick, just to show you, this whole thing, right, is just one big bull run right here. That's all it's had, is one bull run, just one. And it's been around the longest, other than Bitcoin, right? I think, what was it? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. No, I think Ethereum came later. I think it's Bitcoin and XRP are the two oldest cryptos. So, and Bitcoin, how many Bitcoin bull runs have there been? Many. How many XRP? Just one, right? So it's building up, and the same for XLM, same thing, just one. So you're building up that sort of pressure. You're in a pressure cooker, right? So, going back to Dogecoin, there you go. So here's Dogecoin right here. It only had, one bull run. But then look what happened after that, right? Look what happened after that. It went sort of insane. It went parabolic. So let's measure that and see, from the bottom of here to the top. That was about an 18,000% bull run. Okay. So we'll do the same thing again on the next one over here. I'm going to exclude that wick. I'm going to do it from the base. That's about a 42,000% bull run. So it's way more. It was way, way more. Now, granted, you had the news event with Elon and all that. And then also you had a very low market cap that it was, it allowed for that to happen, right? So you got to take that into consideration. But just letting you know, usually when you have one wave and two, the third wave is usually the biggest, right? So you have one. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one. This is 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. We're probably going to get 5. So going back to XLM, right? Same thing. You had one bull run. That's it. That's all you had. And so this one bull run, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one wave. So that's wave 1. Now we're in an A, B, probably C, or a WXY. This is wave 2. And what comes next? The biggest wave. Usually is the biggest wave is wave 3, right? So that's why I'm so bullish on XLM, XRP, because number one, I just did a big video yesterday. I did 2 XRP videos. If you haven't watched those, I highly recommend watching those, because I go over basically, why XRP and also XLM, right? Without mentioning XLM, it is the same thing applies, because it's the same chart, essentially. But, XLM, XRP been around a while, especially XRP, and it's only had one bull run. So basically its whole life, it's been going sideways. And sideways is good, because look at this. Here's sideways right here. In order to get this big bull run, you need the price to go sideways. And basically sideways means accumulation, which basically means people are buying it and they're accumulating it. They're dollar cost averaging, they're buying, right? And as the price goes sideways, people become doubtful. The FUD, right? It's not doing anything. Why am I in this coin? This coin's popping off, this coin's popping off, but XLM just doing nothing. And until the day happens where it just takes you by surprise, right? And then in 2 months, it's already just catapulted to the upside, right? So that's sort of what we're expecting here, just on a much, much bigger scale. Much bigger scale. So it's very hard to know where this thing is going to go as far as measuring. But basically, going back to Bitcoin as an example, and there's many other examples. Number one, you have a high, a lower high, and then an explosion, right? In the shape of a W, or better yet, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off. Again, you have the first phase is your bull market. The second phase, well, actually the first phase is your sideways base. But just for this instance, right? You have your bull run, phase 1, phase 2, your bear market, phase 3, your retracement, phase 4, your reaccumulation, and then phase 5, blast off, right? So reaccumulations can happen in different ways. They can come up, retrace, come down here, then reaccumulate, then go, or they can come up and then come all the way down, but that wouldn't be reaccumulation. That would be an A, B, C, and then go, right? Those are your more bearish looks. Or this is probably the best example where you come up, right? You see this base down here. So this base right here is back testing this base, right? So this the end of the really the best place to buy is at obviously the bottom. But see, if you're a conservative, strategic, smart investor, you don't really care about the bottom. You care more about assurance that it's gonna, moon. And the way you know that is, where does it bottom? Because this thing could have easily bottomed down here and then go into retracement. So now now if you're smart money, right? If you really know what you're doing, obviously buy down here. But if you're sort of playing and you need assurance that it's going to happen, you wait for the bear market to end. You wait for the retracement. Everybody's bullish. Oh, it's going to the moon. It's going to the moon. They're still patient, right? And then what happens? Then you come down for reaccumulation. Then you go sideways. Now, this sideways right here tells the investor, okay, we're at that final phase. It's reaccumulating after its retracement. So there's a good chance that this thing's going to break out. And look what it did. It did. So, or better yet, you're dollar cost averaging here, dollar cost averaging in here. Right? And then then it's green candle after green candle after green candle. And, when we get up here, everybody thinks it just started, but it actually just ended. So then you get this sort of sideways base at the top. So anytime you go sideways, if you're going sideways at the bottom, chances are you're going to go up. If you go sideways at the top, chances are you're going to go down, right? So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off, and then you go into distribution. So there's actually more phases, but I only touch on certain ones, right? The ones that, we're looking for. But actually, if you were to count them all, it would be phase 1 is the base, phase 2 is bull, phase 3 is bear, phase 4 is retracement, phase 5 is reaccumulation, right? Then phase 6 is essentially a new bull or a blast off. And then phase 7 would be distribution. and then it does it all over again, right? So depending where you are in the cycle. Okay, so knowing that, right, going back to XLM, what do you see? Well, you see phase one, right? If we're talking in terms of the whole phases, right? You have phase one, your base. Phase two, your rise or your bull run. Phase two, your bear market. Phase three, your retracement. Phase four, your reaccumulation. And then, you're going sideways now. What comes next? We're waiting for that blast off. We're right there. Now, it could take several more months of going sideways. I don't know. It could take, 6 more months. We can go sideways for a while. Who knows? But what we do know is we're at that sort of final phase of this thing ending, right? So, again, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off, high, lower high in the shape of a W, just like XRP, high, lower high in the shape of a W, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. Now let's look at a different example like Ethereum. Look at Ethereum, it's the same thing, right? You have a high, you have a lower high in the shape of a W, right? In the shape of a W, but also you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So think about XRP and XLM being right in here, somewhere in here. Now, I guess there's a way, to figure out how long it's going to take because, so for example, if Ethereum, I'm not going to do this live on the video recording because I got to, do the math. But if Ethereum took essentially 912 days, right? That's when it broke out, was that 912-day mark. So XLM, it still hasn't broken out, and we're already at 2,191 days. Now, people could say, oh, that's bad, that's bearish, that's no good. Why would I be in this asset? It's taking so long. But that's the whole thing, right? It's all about where you enter in the market. Now, yeah, if you entered, down in here, right? Yeah, it's taken a long time, and you kind of got, the short end of the stick because as XLM, XRP were going into retracement, that's when like Solana and Matic and all the big powerhouse coins, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, they all took off into new all-time high, doing phenomenal bull runs. And all we got from XLM and XRP was this lousy little retracement that never even broke the all-time high. But yeah, back then that was, it sucked. It wasn't good. But now here we are today. Where are they at? Well, they are in a different phase, right? So basically they had their rise, their crash, right? Or actually they had a retracement within that crash. But as XLM, XRP going into retracement, that's when they broke out and new all-time highs. And during that time, yeah, it was better to be in those coins, right? But now they had a big bear market. We didn't. See, people think XLM, XRP had a bear market. No, we never had a bear market. We've been in the bear market this whole time. We've been in the bear market for the last 6+ years. The difference is this right here was reaccumulation, and Bitcoin, Solana, Matic, all the big ones, they went into a bear market as we were going into reaccumulation. And now they're going into a retracement as we're going sideways. So now what comes next for them is down reaccumulation. But we're already done or nearing the end of reaccumulation, which means we still have to catch up. So it's a little complicated when you break it down like that. But the important thing is where other coins are in their cycles, comparing it to what you're in. So I go back to, the comment saying, hey, from here, right, all the way here. That's over 2,000 days of going essentially sideways. But remember, sideways is good. Sideways is what you want, because the bigger the base, right? Here's your base, the higher in space, right? So here's your base right here. So basically we're waiting for that that moment where we can get up here into a new area, right? So we have these, and remember, we've only had one bull run. So there's your bull run. So we're waiting for that new bull run to come. So when you look at it like that, doesn't it look geometrically symmetrical, right? It looks symmetrical to me. It looks like, yeah, that makes sense. Base, markup, base, markup, base, right? So that's sort of how they move. Now, normal assets like Bitcoin, right? They like to trend. They're trending, and then they come down, and they trend more. They're trending, right? But XRP, XLM, they go sideways, elevator, sideways, elevator. So that's why they can be really euphoric and, massive, because it's a short time from here to here. Whereas Bitcoin, it takes its methodical time. It's a much more relaxing ride. Where this is like, supreme scream, and you're just, that ride where you get in it and you go straight up and then straight down, kind of like that. So at the end of the day, I am extremely bullish on XLM, just like XRP. I mean, a lot of people don't like XRP, and I get it. But hey, if you're if you don't want to support XRP and you don't really like it, but you like the idea of where it is in the chart, then XLM might be a good contender, right? And remember, this video is not financial advice. Anything I say can be totally dead wrong. Always know that. It's all, speculation based off data we all have and we're all able to access. So I'm looking at the same data every other human being is looking at, and they might interpret it differently. Like, for example, one human being can say, hey, this sucks. XLM, yeah, it went on a bull run, and but it hasn't done anything in over 6 years. Why would I waste my time? Well, that could be looked at as a bad thing, but it also could be looked at as a good thing, because if you, like you're saying, it takes over 6 years, then that means we're due. We are due for a big run, right? Like if you're looking at it like this, right? This down here is Bitcoin right here, and this is XLM up here. So, at the time, they're both flat, both flat. They both went up, bull run, both went up in a bull run. They both came down in a bear market, but the difference is XLM took a long time of doing nothing, sideways, torture, psychologically, like, hey, why am I in this asset? And then to add, to put salt on the wound, right, when Bitcoin went into a retracement. See, that's if we wanted XLM, XRP to have broken the all-time high, down in here, we needed them both to go up into a retracement, just like how Bitcoin did. And then it came down for reaccumulation, but XLM, XRP didn't. All it did was just go sideways flat on the bottom, right? And then coming back up into a retracement. But then as it was going into retracement, that's when you could see Bitcoin going into a new all-time high. So as an investor, you're looking at this thinking, why am I in this asset when all, Solana, I just say that because it's, a lot of them, they're all going up here and it's barely down here. So you can look at it as a bad thing. And I would agree at the time of this, yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing to be holding. But now we're in a different time, right? We're in a totally different time. So you can see here, it's going from the bottom, from this top, it's going up. But from this top, it's going down. So that's called divergence. So both of the prices are diverting from each other, right? So you can see this is different because we're going down into reaccumulation, then going sideways. This is going straight down, then straight back up. That's a bear and a retrace. This is reaccumulation and sideways. So we'll see if Bitcoin can sort of, oscillate back up, hit the high again. That's all it really takes, right? That's all it really takes for XLM to just go boom like that is a move, oscillation up. And people say, well, how does that happen if Bitcoin doesn't go into a new all-time high? Well, so here's proof that it doesn't need an all-time high necessarily, right? So here we have Bitcoin down here. That was its, remember that 2017 December, I remember that day perfectly. $20,000 Bitcoin basically. But then look at XLM. XLM was only down here, was only at 27 cents, right? So then both, that was correlated, right? So then they both came down, they both came down. They both went sideways, they both went sideways. But here's the best part. Check this out. As Bitcoin was going into retracement, XLM broke out in a new all-time high. So everybody who says, oh, XRP and, XLM, they will never break out into a new all-time high if Bitcoin does not. Bitcoin needs to break out into a new all-time high in order for XRP and XLM. And I agree, yeah, that's kind of true. But there's only been one bull run for XLM and XRP, and that bull run, Bitcoin was already in the bear market. So here's the top of the bull market. Now here's the bear market, and it's sort of going in this retracement. As it's going into a retracement, that's when XLM explodes to the upside. So let's look at it a little differently. Here's the line chart. So the line is Bitcoin, right? And then the candles is XLM and basically XRP. So you can see here, this was the top of the Bitcoin bull market right here. So we're going to take that right down here, right? This is very important, right? So if that's the top, right? And then they both go down, right? So you can see, look how big Bitcoin went down. But then look what XLM did. It sort of went sideways. And then what happened was Bitcoin then sort of retraced this, here's its first impulse down. It retraced that impulse. Bitcoin went up and retraced. It never broke the all-time high. It just went into a retracement. As it went into a retracement, there's distribution in here. As that's happening, that's when XLM and XRP go on a massive rampage. And it only took, this is the 2-day chart, right? So it only took about 5 days. It only took 5 days. XLM, XRP doesn't need a lot of time to catch up to the rest of the market. People think, well, we're running out of time. It literally only needs a week. I mean, I'm not saying that's what has to happen. It could take 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It could take a month. It could take 2 months. But here's an example. It took 5 days to go extraordinarily higher from here all the way up here, right? So it was a big run right there. So basically what I'm saying is XRP, XLM broke out into a new all-time high, exploded, while Bitcoin was already in a bear market going into a retracement, right? Okay, so now let's go back to where we are now. Let's see where we are here. The big difference here is the time, right? There's a massive time gap between here. Okay, so here we go. So here you have the top of the Bitcoin bull market. So again, it went into a crash. They both went down. But now what do you see happening? You see Bitcoin retracing this move, just like last time, right? And what happens when Bitcoin retraces the moon? Retraces this move, right? So it's going into retracement. And then as it goes into distribution, that's sort of our chance for XLM. Let me take Bitcoin off so you can see. That's sort of our chance for XLM. You can see the price down here to go and moonshot way up here. See, just like back over here. Let me take all this off. So you could see, let me use this. You could see XLM, this was the all-time high. This was the big hoorah, right? This moment right here. And if I turn Bitcoin on, you could see Bitcoin mooned way before that, and it already went down. And then as it goes into this retracement in here, that's when XLM blasts off. So, again, fast forwarding to now, you could see something similar. The difference is how long it's taken, right? It's taking so much more time. So people out there, you're right. Maybe Bitcoin needs to break out into a new all-time high. I agree. It could be. Yeah, that's definitely possible. But what I'm saying is it's not a definite answer because it proved itself last time, right? As Bitcoin was going into a retracement, right? Last time, that's when XRP and XLM broke out. So you can see again right here. Here's the Bitcoin, the orange line. That's the retracement. And then here is the bull run for XLM. So theoretically, it doesn't need to break out into new all-time high, right? So, but here's the thing. What happened back then? What needed to happen? Well, first, we had the Bitcoin top. That's what we have now. Then we had the Bitcoin bear market. That's what we had, we had that first knockdown. The difference here is we had a whole bear market. But we have the top, we have a down move. That's what happened last time. And then Bitcoin went into a retracement. And that's what's happening now. And where was XLM and XRP? Sort of, chilling flat. So, this thing can pop at any moment, I think, possibly, right? Or it could take another 6 months. I don't know. I'm not here to tell you when and how, but I'm just saying, hey, if you look at the last time, that's what happened. So there you go. That's proof. That's proof that Bitcoin doesn't need to break out into new. So in other words, basically what we have here is a pump and then it went sideways. And when it was going sideways, that's when Bitcoin exploded, right, to the upside. But then as it went sideways, Bitcoin then topped, right? It topped. Let me just put it on one more time. You could see it topped here, right? And then Bitcoin came up, right? And then that's sort of when XLM came up, but sort of after it had already retraced its move. So in other words, we have this up move, this sideways move, and then this explosion. This explosion happened when Bitcoin already topped out and went down, but then came back up, right? So again, if you come over here, same kind of thing. We have this pump up, and now we're going sideways. It's a little different, right? Because we came down a lot further, and the time it took was a lot different. But, up, down, sideways. So, and as it's in sideways, that's when Bitcoin's in its retracement. So basically, the you know it's lining, the stars are lining up like they were before when the magic happened. So, not to say it's going to happen again, right? But history rhymes. It doesn't necessarily repeat exactly, but it rhymes. So let's see if we get that rhyme. So I think that should be it for XLM. I mean, if you want more XLM videos, just watch my previous XRP video. It's exactly the same thing. Highly recommend if you're new to the channel and this is your first, your XLM hodler, right? Holder, investor, and you want more information about this. I have so much more information. Just in the last few days, I put out 2 XRP videos. Last several days, 2 XRP videos, and basically everything I say for it, it means the same thing for XLM, right? So a lot of people don't like it because XLM and XRP never broke their all-time high. And I agree, at the time, yeah, it sucked. But people who keep saying that now don't realize that we're in a different time now. XLM XRP is prime because we have our base, we have our bull, we have our bear, we have our retracement, we have our reaccumulation, and we have our sideways reaccumulation on this base. So here's your base, here's another base, and here's another base. And you have your high, your lower high, you have your W. This is setting up to do this, right? Now, there's a lot of XRP content creators, XLM, right? And they've been saying it for a long time. You know their names. I'm not going to say their names. But come on, think about it. How many people on Twitter or X have been saying sort of what I'm saying now, but they said it years ago, right? So they said it back over here. And not to say that they're wrong, because eventually, yeah, they're going to be right. And then when it happens, they can say, yeah, I was right. But, but at the same time, they said it in a different phase. And not to say that it's wrong, because eventually they will be right. But, it really matters where you are in the phase. See, back over here, there was a good chance for XLM XRP to break out, but it never happened. So, right in here, everybody was calling for new all-time high. We're going to the moon. This is it. This is it. This is it. But it was only a retracement. The reason why is because this whole thing wasn't a retracement. And these are the kind of charts I like. These big cups. You could see this is a massive cup. It comes down in a massive cup. And at the bottom of the cup, you have these bases right in here. So it sets up for a massive move to the upside. But I wasn't going to come out with videos back over here or here or here because, it would have been boring. It would have been like, well, what's the point? But now you can see my channel is fairly new. I really haven't been putting out videos since sort of, I think, October, November is when I really started. So, so I guess, we got that out of the way. Now let's sort of talk ideas. What are the ideas? And I basically gave the ideas, but essentially, one of the big ideas would be this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's one wave. So that's 1. This is wave 2, and now we're going to enter in wave 3. And that's confluent with the W, with the rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, with the fractal pattern of Bitcoin and all the others, with sort of Dogecoin. Remember Dogecoin having that first cycle that looked exactly like this, right? And now it went into its sideways move, and then it had that explosion. So everything's sort of pointing up. So that's sort of that idea, confluent with others. So I guess, you know, that again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, one idea with the W, you know, that's sort of the main idea. The other idea, confluent to that also, would be this contracting triangle. It's not as pretty as the XRP triangle, because it's saying that, you know, wave D isn't finished yet. So we have wave A, B, C, and now I don't think this is D and then E. I mean, it could be, right? It makes more sense on XRP, but you would kind of want D to come back up here, then E to come down here. Now, sort of like that. That's sort of how I would see it, right? A good example was Bitcoin. So you could see here's Bitcoin. You could see here A, B, this was C, then we came up for D, but then look at this. E, you would think E would come all the way down here, but it didn't. This was E down in here. It was sort of like a flat type of structure, like a flat wave. But if you zoom in, this is the 5-day chart, but if you zoom in, you could see right here, 1, 2, 3. It was a 3-wave move, so we counted that as E. It's contracting, right? It's not always going to be perfectly symmetrical, but you could see here, 1, 2, 3 for D, 1, 2, 3 here for E. So taking a mental screenshot of that, we could see the same thing potentially for XLM, where we're still marching our way up into D, and then we sort of have this little tiny E, which is just a correction. So we're on our way. So this whole thing could be a wave 1, and then we kind of fizzle out for E, which is just a wave 2, and then we go for wave 3. So this whole thing would be wave 3, right? So boom, boom. Like this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This whole thing would be wave 3. So counting it like that, it would be 1, 2, all of this is 3, then we get 4, then 5. So you get the idea. So, you know, if you look at XRP, it kind of seems like D would be finished, right? Because if I come down here, and maybe not completely. Now, there is an argument, and I've seen a comment that what if it isn't the case? And it could be, right? But even if it's not, so like if I do it this way, and this is the way I've been saying it, A, B, C, and then we come up for D, and now this is E, yeah, you could say that, because we have 3 in D, and it relatively came up into these retracement levels is like what I like to see. But XLM didn't even come close. So it makes me think, who's telling the truth here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we go. That's possibility. But let's look at it conservatively and say D isn't finished yet. So then we have E down over here. But even if that's the case, it's still very bullish, because this whole thing could be wave 1, right? Boom, 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 right? We get up here into D. And then sort of how like Bitcoin did, it didn't come all the way down and then up. It sort of kind of went flat, coiled up in here, and then it went. So either way, I'm happy if whatever the case may be. So that's about it. Now the bearish, the super, super bearish idea that I don't really entertain would be A, B, C. C can be here, C can be here, C can be here, it depends, right? So this would be 1, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and now we're going down for 5. That's totally possible, right? And we can break that low. So, you know, if that happens, hey, so be it. We buy the dip. We continue to be planted in our investment. We don't give up because the price dumped. We don't, you know, or I shouldn't say that. I'm not, you know, you can do whatever you need to do. Not financial advice, but if we do that, that's going to cause some capitulation amongst the XLM, XRP holders. And that might be needed in order to blast off the price, right? So this would be an A, B, and then all of that C, right? And then we go to the moon. So that would be sort of that would be the worst case scenario, right? So there's only really one idea for the bearish count, but there's a lot of confluent ideas for the bullish count. The only difference is we have one more low. So, you know, if people want to give up just because one more low, but at the same time, it's going to feel like it's never going to end, right? Because, you know, first of all, you had this massive bear market. Then you only went into a retracement. Then you had this crash, right? You never broke out into new all-time high. That's psychological damaging, number one. Then you sort of went all the way down back to sort of the COVID area, which is nowhere close to where Bitcoin pulled back. So that's psychological damaging, number two. Then you pull up, don't even get back to the retracement levels like Bitcoin did and others, right? That's number three. And then you have another low, right? You know, that's like 3, 4, 5 strikes, you're out, right? So if we come down here, that's really going to disturb people. But I think maybe that could be possible. So what do you have? But to me, I don't really like it because it's too big. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have this massive ABC. So the ABC, to me, is not proportional to this. And that's sort of the problem I'm having. But hey, anything's possible. So, you know, this channel is not to say, hey, it's got to go up. You know, people, I'm calling for this bullish price. Eventually, yeah, I think so. But there's two ideas on the table. But here's the difference. I'm not going to entertain that idea until we have confirmation. Because right now, we're postured for rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We're postured to stay in this range and then eventually break out and go. If we break below this low, then you can start to entertain the A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So, but until then, there's no reason to entertain it. Now, keeping it on the back of your mind is always important, right? But I think if we just, you know, hodl through it or buy the dip, right? But one thing I'm definitely not going to do is assume that it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buy here. So basically sell everything just to buy it back barely over here, right? So if we're in the fifth wave down, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So somewhere in that 3 to 5 cent range would be sort of the target if this bearish idea were to play out. Now, if you ask me which one I think, well, nobody knows for sure. But I think eventually, right, we're going to go higher. So regardless if it happens here or if it happens here, both ideas say we got much higher prices. So if we do have this worst case scenario, think of it as a blessing in disguise, right? It's going to feel terrible. My portfolio is down. It's red. But if you got some extra spending cash, you might be able to pick up more XLM, right? And then once we get up into these areas, then you have much more XLM to show for. And when we get up there, you're going to be so glad that it did come down here. Not to say that it is, right? I don't know. But when you look at XRP, I don't like that because to me, it looks too big. Like, for example, if this was a 1, 2, and this is 3, to me, it needed to be here, 4, and then 5, right? But 4 came all the way up here. So it's sort of over it. So you don't want wave 3 to go in the vicinity of wave 1, and you could see it totally smashed it here. So here's wave 1, it stopped here. And then wave 3 down here, but then wave 4 came way above over here. That's not allowed, right? And look at the size of wave 4 compared to wave 2. Look how small that is compared to how big that is. It's not proportional. It doesn't make sense, right? So when you look at XLM, it makes a little more sense because it's more proportional, right? You could see here, you have wave 1, wave 2, and then wave 1 is here. But look at wave 4 didn't overlap into wave 1. So which one's telling, again, they're two different styles, right? Which one's telling the truth? That's the hard part to know. Who's leading the pack? Which one's telling the truth? So this is 1, 2, 3. If this is 4, and then we come down for 5, it looks proportional, right? You can see here is proportional with this. And then also this wave doesn't overlap with this wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But again, you look at XRP, it doesn't look proportional, does it? So that's why I'm conflicted. Like I don't like that, right? So for now, I'm not entertaining the bearish idea. I'm saying, we're probably following this type of fractal. Now, I got some comments about XRP, and I said I would touch bases on it, and I will on the next video. I know there's still a lot of other comments that I said, hey, I'll talk about it, but there's not enough time for this video, so I'll touch on it on the next XRP XLM video. I did touch on some of those comments. One of them too is being this wick isn't on a lot of other exchanges, and that's true. But again, the base of this, so the context I'm saying in is this fractal, right? You can see here. Here's a very good example right here. Check this out. This is one of my favorite examples. So you have a rise, you have a rise. You have a crash, you have a crash. You have a retrace, you have a retrace. You have a reaccumulation, you have reaccumulation. You have a sideways base, you have a sideways base. You have blast off, what comes next? Potentially blast off. But what happened right before the blast off? You see, and the same thing goes with XLM. You could see here's the support right in here, right there. And you can see, let me try to make that better. You could see the price dipping below. Now you can see this big giant wick. Now I'm not saying that wick has to occur, but at least we got the bodies of the candles to break these lows. So if you're looking at it like that, or better yet like this, like a channel, and you come up here, you can see it broke below right here. So then coming back over here, let me get rid of that. You could see, depending how you draw the channel, right? Bring it out here. We could potentially A, B, C, come down here and then go, right? At the base of the channel. Same thing for XLM. So let's see how that would look for XLM. Yeah, kind of the same. So if I take, this was the fractal from here. If I take that, it's not a perfect fractal, but you can see sort of how it ranged in here a little bit. We ranged in here. So, there's just basically oscillation. So oscillation, you're in a range. It's tough to know what the range is going to do. Oscillate up, down, right, until you get out. So we're waiting for that get out moment. So each day that passes, I feel like we're getting closer and closer. Now, the big thing is, to entertain that bearish idea, we would have to break the range below here. Now, it has to be a full candle, couple candles close. If it's just a wick, no big deal. But if it's a big candle close, then we have to look at it seriously as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather than a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, blast off. So instead of rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, it would be an A, B, C, and then go. So hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, hodl as always. That is it for this video. But before I go, let's just for the fun of it go over targets. So in case you're wondering, where could XLM go as far as targets, we can see, I always like to say a full 4.236 Fibonacci extension, which comes in at about $3.85. Now it's only 11 cents, so that's a pretty big move there. So let's measure that move. If we're measuring it from where we are now, all the way up to about that 385, 380, that's over a 3,000% move. That's a big move. Now for XRP, let's do the same thing. 3,000%. Where does that take us? That comes in about $17. So what's more likely? That's what you have to ask yourself. Maybe XLM blows XRP out of the water. Totally possible. Because XLM has a smaller market cap, right? XLM can blow XRP out of the water, potentially. Because what do you think is more likely in your opinion? A $3.85 XLM or a an $18 XRP? So confluent to that, right, would be this sort of, remember the cup and handle, right? So the measured move of that cup and handle. I think that gets us up to that 17. Yeah, it gets us to that $19, $19 area. So, there's some confluence there of that 3,000%. But going back to XLM, you could see a reasonable target to have would be the 1.618, obviously, which comes out at about $1.50, $1.48 to be exact. So $1.48, that's still a good percentage move. From here to here, that's about almost 1,200%. So let's round it up, 1,200. So let's do the same for XRP. If I take it where we are now and I go up 1,200%, that's about $7.50. So, again, what's more likely to you? I think they're both going to do well. I think XLM could potentially outperform XRP because of it's such a smaller market cap, and it's much further down, right? If you compare, so you can see XRP is on top, and then the darker color is XLM. You could see, XRP is way up here, XLM is way down here. So if one shoots up to here, the other shoots up to here, they both moved the same area, but this one had a better percentage move because it essentially caught up to it, right? So you could see, even back over here, XLM, if I match it down here, you can see XLM actually outperformed, right? So if they're both at the same area, then all of a sudden XRP, I believe it stops out around here somewhere, and then XLM stops way up here. So it's a lot higher. So maybe, you know what? Maybe I ought to swap some of my XRP for more. I mean, I'm a holder of XLM. I hold XLM. So maybe I should swap more XRP for more XLM. Maybe I might do that. Not financial advice. I could be wrong. Maybe XLM gets left in the dust, right? Maybe there's a reason why XRP is sort of angling up higher and XLM sort of sideways. You know, it's sort of diverting a little bit. So, you know, I think I might get some more XLM because, you know, when you start running through your thoughts and start spilling it out, you know, the best way to learn is to teach, right? So if I'm sort of expressing my viewpoints as I'm doing it, you know, sometimes I change my mind and I go, you know what? I didn't even think about that. You know, thinking out loud helps. Okay, now let's, for the fun of it, change that to linear scale. I'm sorry, log scale, or change it to log scale. So, you know, that would be sort of the biggest target if it can hit. I would say between $7 and $8. That would be like the maximum I think it can do. And that would be huge. That would be, you know, close to almost 7,000. I would say between 5 and 7,000%. That's huge, right? Now, for the fun of it, let's say 5,000% on XRP, that would be like over $30, right? That would be, yeah, that $30-$40 mark. So I'd say $30. So what's more likely, XLM $7-8 or XRP $30? It's really, you know, what you want. No, that's why it's best to be diversified, because you just don't know, right? You just don't know which one it's going to be. So, but, you know, this is shaping out to be great. Cup and handle, right? A W, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, a 1, 2, 3 wave move, following a big bull run, sideways base. I mean, there's so many reasons why this thing is looking really nice, right? Same thing for XLM. Sideways base, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, high, lower high, in the shape of a W, 3-wave move, right? Cup and handle, you know, W, same thing. So, if I really had to nail down a specific target, obviously it'd be the more conservative target. You know, I would. Well, you know, for XRP, a lot of them is between, you know, that $10 to $13 area, that 4.236. So if I take that up here to about, let's say about 13, it's about 2,000%. So going back to XLM, where does 2,000 or 2,500% take us? So it takes us to about, you know, between 260 and about 380. So I would say between, you know, 250 and $4. I think that would be a good area to start taking profit. So yeah, I've gone well over an hour. So thank you guys. I appreciate, you know, I wanted to get an XLM video out. I don't normally do them because I do XRP. It's the same thing, but there are differences. XLM chart leans a little more bearish because of this fourth wave didn't come up to the previous degree of the first when XRP did. So it makes me second guess, is this thing really an ABC, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5? But again, I'm not going to entertain that until we break this range. Until then, I'm going to treat it like a W. a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways blast off. Just like Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, right? Same kind of thing. Dogecoin, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways blast off. So I'm thinking XLM, XRP somewhere in here. So you could see Ethereum, right? Never did it, never went into an ABC like this, right? So like A, B, and never went down for a C, because if it was a 1, 2, 3, look at the fourth wave. The fourth wave came way up here above wave 1. So it didn't make sense, right? So that's the same thing for XRP. So we'll just have to wait and see. But as of now, there's nothing to worry about. I think we're remaining bullish until proven otherwise. So again, thank you guys for watching the video. If you made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. I appreciate that, and leaving a like. And I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback. If you got any questions or any coins you want me to look at, I will be happy to take a look and go from there. So thank you guys. I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.